What's going on?
Wow.
Y'all got to respond better than that. What's going on?
Come on,
There's a lot of
y'all.
people in the building tonight. This is a way bigger turnout than
Oh
I
my
think
gosh, yeah.
we
Our
were
first
expecting.
our first event, you guys, was probably like 6 people.
It was a little bit more than
Okay,
that.
maybe 10.
Maybe 11.
Okay, maybe 11. But like you guys are so lit. You guys brought the energy. We got vendors here, we got food, we got DJ, we got music, we got
Yeah.
everybody here.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you to all of you for coming out today.
Yes.
We appreciate you all
Thank you guys for showing
supporting
out.
us in what we do. We thank you a lot. Yeah, we got a nice topic for you all tonight. But before we do that, we just want to shout out the people who helped make this event happen. You want to start?
Yeah, we got a couple of our vendors. We got Bosquewood Designs in the house, custom wood making. It's actually my dad as well, so you guys support him. Who else we got?
We got 5 in the kitchen. They made that good food for you all. I know y'all ate good. Thank you to them.
Yes. Jamaican Spanish food. So good. We got DJ Ziggy on the house.
He's back
Come
there.
on.
Thank you, DJ.
Make some noise from DJ Ziggy.
And we got Trey Rico, the man on the mic tonight. Thank you for
Yes.
your words, my brother.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, we got to say thank you to our team.
Yes. Y'all, we wouldn't be here without our lovely team. You guys do so much work for us and just bringing God's word together. So we're so thankful for everything you guys do.
Yep.
We're all here as a team. So
Yeah.
props to everybody.
You ready to get to work?
Yeah. Deep breath.
Yeah.
We've been here since like 2:00, y'all.
Yeah, setting up, getting everything ready. But we got a good topic today. We're going to be discussing
The power of self-validation.
self-validation.
Yeah, we've been doing a series for the past, is it 10 weeks now?
Yep, this is the
Technically,
10th episode.
It's been like 10 weeks, 10 episodes. We're doing a power of series. So every episode we have a different subject that we talk about.
Yeah.
And so this one, just to close up season 2, y'all, can we make some noise for season 2? We're closing this one out with self-validation.
Yeah. So, Key, let me
Yeah.
throw you under the bus.
Oh, gosh.
What does self-validation mean to you?
You always start with a definition.
Yeah.
So I was ready for this one.
Okay.
So for me, the definition of self-validation means just understanding yourself so much that you're able to hype yourself up no matter what. That there's no doubt, there's no unwavering doubt within you that you're able to validate yourself without anybody else, any other circumstance, any other material thing. Like you validate yourself on your own.
That's absolutely so important because you go through so many things in your life where other people don't understand where you are. They don't understand what you're going through. They don't understand you, and you have to be there for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm learning so much, especially like throughout this journey with the podcast. I was looking back at our first episode.
Cringe.
And I was just looking at that version of myself and like how skeptical I was about what I was doing and were my words being heard? You know, was it worth it? Was I the person for the job? And at the end of the day, I had to look at myself and be like, no, you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to look in the mirror and be like, you look kind of good today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to validate yourself and give yourself those things. It's very important.
There's definitely those moments where it's like God doesn't call the qualified; He qualifies the called.
Yep.
It's definitely one of those, and it's scary sometimes because it's going into the unknown and into the uncomfortable. And I can definitely say, like, starting this podcast, I was like kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, because like for me, getting out to verbally express in an open platform, I've never done that before.
Yeah.
You know, so it's leveling, you know, to take me to the next level in order to like just say the things that I've been feeling, but also to translate what's God's been teaching me along the way.
Yeah.
Because I feel like even just us having our conversations has blessed me. So I can only imagine how these conversations are blessing other people too.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's so big. A lot of people like will just come up to me and say like, hey, I heard the last episode, and I'm always like, what are you talking about? They're like, you have a podcast. I'm like, oh yeah, I do have
that
a
thing.
podcast.
Right.
But yeah, that's so big. I have a question for everybody in the room. How much do you validate yourself? When's the last time you validated yourself?
That's a hard question. Just,
If it was today, raise your hand.
who validated their self today? Parking does not count. Okay. He over there said I did.
That's actually a good segue to an analogy I had.
Okay.
So
Here's the analogy of
I
the
always come with an analogy. It's like how I think. So you know how you go somewhere and they validate your parking when you go in. Basically, they're like, "Hey, you're approved to park here. You belong here," so to speak. And self-validation is like, it's like that flip. It's like you stamping your own ticket and saying, "I don't need you to tell me I can be here. I can tell that to myself."
Yeah.
And I think for a long time in my life, I didn't do that, and I looked for validation from outside sources, so from other
Absolutely.
people. And I felt like when I did things, if other people didn't approve them or give me their stamp of approval, so to speak, then I should stop doing them, or they weren't okay, or they were wrong. And it's a horrible way to live because you're constantly trying to please other people, and you're leaving yourself out of the loop.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you ever been there?
Absolutely. I mean, it's part of the human experience. I don't think there gets to a point where you're like, wow, I am 100% positive all the time.
Yep.
Like, there's certain waves that we go through, but I think it's a tool that we develop over time and through like experience, that we start to learn how to maneuver it. And like, I was also reflecting on it this morning too, but like, self validation is similar to self acceptance. And for us to be able to accept ourselves, that's the only time that we're able to validate ourselves, when we can actually be like, hey, I have flaws and they're fine. There's nothing wrong with me. That's just part of who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be perfect. So learning how to love yourself in your imperfections. I was about to go on a tangent, but let's do it. So have you ever heard of the effect called wabi sabi?
I just did now.
Okay. So wabi sabi is a old Japanese aesthetic where it's basically awarded for being perfectly imperfect. Like, it might be something wrong with it, or it might be a little
Asymmetrical.
asymmetrical, or it just might not be exactly perfect, but it's beautiful just because that's how it is. And so that's how we need to love ourselves, where it's like, oh, I have these flaws. Instead of bashing yourself, be like, wow, that's going to be my strength one day.
Yeah.
And like kind of flip that narrative. But even too, like coming out of COVID, right, where it's our innate ability for us to communicate and be with each other as communities. And during the pandemic, we got kind of stripped of that. I mean, you might be with your family, like I was in the house with my family. My family's here, y'all, today. I gotta shout y'all out. My family's here. I gotta put you on the spot. But you're with you're with your family, or maybe you were by yourself in isolation the whole time.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to be in community, and because of that, if we're stripped from it, we are lacking a sense of belonging, and then we start to lose who we are because we're not bouncing off of other people. Even in the Bible, like, you could go off grid and never talk to people ever again, but I think that goes against the purpose of life, because we're supposed to interact and impact other people.
Yeah.
So for us to have this yearning to belong means, hey, I'm looking at other people to accept me. But where that gets tricky is if you rely only on them to accept you, if you don't accept yourself first.
Absolutely. Yeah. That like goes into something that I was thinking, and it was, so part of how I like prepare for these podcasts is like throughout the week, I'll like talk to other people about the subject and just kind of see what they think. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and the topic kind of came up like, although it is very important to validate yourself, all of us at some level want to be validated by outside sources. And just like you were just saying, man was not meant to be alone. The Bible tells us that. So I think although it is very important for you to validate yourself, we need that, like you were just talking, that interaction with other people. We need other people to support one another. And it's that whole reciprocity bit. Like, if you want that, you have to give that.
Yeah.
You can't go around expecting everybody to just validate everything that you're doing, and you're not giving that back out to people.
Absolutely.
So I think it's very important on both sides to get it and to give it.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you remember a time where like you weren't validating yourself and you kind of had like a mental switch and you're like, actually, let's turn this on?
Yeah, I'll say the job that I'm working now, it was kind of divine how I got the job. So just a quick version of the story. I was at a job. I was about to get promoted by my boss. His boss vetoed it and basically said I wasn't qualified enough. 2 years later, I decided to move back to Virginia, and I contacted them to go back to work. And I asked them, hey, can I come back? I'll take a job less than what I had before. The same boss who vetoed me said, we miss him so much, bring him back, give him a job he's not qualified for, and let him grow into it. So during that time when I started working that position, there was so much that I didn't know, so many things that I felt like I wasn't qualified for. And I was that way for a long time. And I was kind of just walking through work every day, like, when are they going to fire me? When are they going to figure out that I'm not who they think I am? At what point is something going to come up that I cannot resolve because I don't actually know what I'm doing here? And kind of got to a point to where it was like, no, if God said that this job was for you and he put it on her heart to give it to you, then you're qualified for it. So walk in that authority. And I had to start like speaking to myself that way and just saying, hey, you do belong here. You can handle this job. You can learn whatever you need to learn for the job. And I began to do that. And now I've been back 2 years working in that job.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That's so powerful.
Yeah. What about you?
So I'm going to take it back. I was probably like 12 or something. I don't know. So there was a time back in my youth. Can you hear me? There's a time back in my youth where, middle schoolers are just kind of brutal. Yeah. So like I would have my friends, like they were my friends, but they were like joking. But to me, sometimes it wasn't it wasn't a joke, but they would be like, oh, Kiana, you're so weird. And I'm like, like, haha, but like that actually stung, like it hurt, so like I would get that a lot just because like I was quirky or I was different or whatever. It was always upside down or something. But I would go home and be like, dang, am I weird? Like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I like this? Why am I so different? I wish I could just be like everybody else. Yep. Right? So then I don't know exactly when it switched, but probably like a year later or something like that, where I was just getting fed up with people saying like, you're weird, and me getting upset about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to switch this around. So like, I remember literally journaling. Like, I guess Baby Key was journaling back then too. But I just remember journaling and be like, okay, next time somebody says you're weird, you're just going to say thank you. Like, instead of it being a rude comment, it's going to be a compliment. Yeah. And so I would flip that around. So next time somebody would be like, oh, you're so weird, I'd be like, thank you. Yeah. And like, of course they would think that's even more weird. But in my own head, my own delusion, I was like, that's a good thing. Yeah. Because why would you want to fit in when you're born to stand out? I made that like my life motto. Yeah. So then everywhere I went, I was like, I want to be different. How can I, like, if I'm looking at everybody in the room and everybody has like the same outfit on or whatever, I'm like, let me wear something different. Let me say something different. Let me act a little differently. And the thing is too, like looking back now that I'm in my spiritual walk, I can look back and say, I felt like that was the Holy Spirit saying, you were born to be set apart. Like Jesus was set apart, and people thought he was weird. They thought he was crazy.
Radical. But
he was so radical, so it takes that switch in your brain and even in your self-talk. Like, I like how you were like, I can do this. I'm qualified. Yeah. It takes that self-talk to just start to believe what you're saying.
Absolutely. And that makes me think of something else. So God does this thing with me whenever he decides to give me things. He wants to wake me up in the middle of the night to do it.
Is it at 3 a.m.?
Like 2 to 4, 2 to 6, all the time. So the other night when I was preparing for this, he woke me up, and one of the things he told me was, in order to validate yourself, you have to first know yourself. And the question was like, how well do you actually know you? So like in relationships, especially like in romantic relationships, we always talk about the process of learning the other individuals, right? Going through that phase where you learn them, they learn you. But have you ever gone through that phase with yourself? Have you ever spent time with you? When's the last time you took yourself on a date? Raise your hand if it was in the last 2 weeks you took yourself on a date.
I believe in self-dates. But
yeah, I know you do. But yeah, just spending that quality time. And I'm not talking about being alone. I'm talking about spending quality time with yourself, exploring your own mind, your own spirit. What things do I like? What things do I not like? Your tics, the things that you get under your skin. You have to first know yourself before you can start validating yourself.
Absolutely.
Have you ever gone through, let me ask you this. What was the process of actually learning you? When did that happen in your life, when you actually began to learn you?
Ironically enough, I think it was through like failed relationships, to be honest, because I was blessed enough to grow up in a household with love. I only knew love. I've only seen love. But I don't know, maybe I was trying to be rebellious, and so I would date opposite of like what I grew up seeing. But I think it was in those relationships that I poured all my love out because I thought I could fix somebody, that it came back and like kind of bit me in the butt, you know? So you're good. Okay. I think it's just those relationships that I had to realize, hey, you're doing a little too much, that you're not even appreciating yourself. And you're seeking validation from this other partner when they don't even know themselves enough to validate outwardly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if we're insecure, we're not gonna press that out.
Mm-hmm. No, I think your mic. Check.
Hello? We're back. Back and we're better.
Yeah.
But no, I think it was certain relationships that I had to realize that I was trying to fix them when I actually needed to fix my own mindset. And that's where I found my relationship with God, where I was like, instead of me finding my validation and my self-worth and my value from another man who might not see their own, let me go to the one who created me.
Yeah.
And I started validating myself in Psalms and in scripture and my alone time with God.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to hear how he was speaking to me rather than these negative voices that come up so loudly. You know, it was me dedicating my time alone with God to understand these positive voices aren't so foreign if you just take time to listen. Yeah. And be still and be quiet. And even in times of doubt, those voices are still there. The voices are still there saying like, no, you're qualified for this. Absolutely. Just step into the door. I already got you. Yeah. But we hear everything else instead. Like, oh, what are they going to think of me? How am I going to do this? I don't even know what I'm doing. But those aren't the voices that God is speaking. That's actually from our enemy that was trying to stop us from what God is trying to do through us.
Wow. I don't know why that just made me think of this question, but I'm going to throw a question at you.
Okay.
At what point does self-validation become detrimental to you?
When it becomes ego. When it becomes arrogant. When it becomes, I'm better than you.
Yes.
And I'm walking around thinking I'm cocky because I'm above everybody. Yeah. You know, I could tell a difference in that when I was dancing, because I would go into, I mean, you go into an audition, you have to own it. Like you have to be the part.
You have to be confident.
You have to be confident. But there was a fine line that I realized that I was becoming arrogant, where I'm like, oh, I'm better than her. She did that trick and I'm better than her. Yeah. And that was arrogant, right? So that's where it becomes detrimental, because now you're pushing other people down to get yourself higher.
Absolutely.
And that never ends well.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about validation and the fact that, so I was kind of just speaking about knowing yourself. And I was thinking about that process of getting to know yourself, and how it's hard for us to be, or to look at ourselves with non-biased eyes, because you can't really separate you from yourself. So no matter how honest you say you're being with yourself, no matter how harsh you're being with yourself, at some level, your brain is wired to protect you.
Yeah.
So it's hard to have those hard conversations with yourself to actually begin to know yourself, and make sure that you're not just validating things for the wrong reasons, like you were just talking about. Do you find it hard to be honest with yourself sometimes about the things that maybe are not the best traits about you?
Yeah. I mean, there's always like two sides to it, you know, where I'm like, okay, is this healthy for me to do this, or am I ignoring this and like throwing it away and not confronting it and just brushing it under the rug? I think there's always going to be that kind of battle. But it comes down to you asking the right questions to be like, where's my heart at? You know, what is the right thing to do? Rather than it's not always the safest thing to do, but what is the correct thing? Because sometimes if it's uncomfortable, that's actually going to grow you. Whether it's something that's triggering you, you still should figure that out, because why is it triggering you?
Absolutely.
You need to unbury that.
Yeah. There's a quote, and I don't know who said the quote, so forgive me, but it just says that you can measure the strength of a relationship by how much truth it can bear. And I was thinking about that with yourself. How much truth can you handle from you?
Yeah.
How much can you just look in the mirror and be honest with yourself about where you are, who you are, and what you have going on? Because it hurts.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get better at that. And I've spoken in the past multiple times about dealing with pride in my life. And that's something that I constantly want to just get rid of. But being able to look at myself in the mirror and be honest is not an easy thing to do sometimes because you want what you want. You want to do what you want to do. You want to say what you want to say. And it's hard to look at yourself and be like, no, that's not actually good. You shouldn't actually be like that. And that's part of what validation is if you look at, like, there's two different definitions, but one of them is like actually proving the validity of something. So you're proving that what you are saying about yourself is valid, that it's actually real. So how much of what we're saying to ourselves is not actually something that's valid? It's not real. We're just saying it because we think that, or we want that, or it's just a desire, but it's not something that's actually real. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also a detrimental place, is to get stuck in an illusion or a false reality that we build up where we feel like, oh, this is what I want. Mentally, I'm already here.
Yep.
So let me live like that. You know, I mean, there's good ways to do that, but sometimes it's not the healthiest.
Yeah.
Let's see, I was gonna ask you a question. Okay, so we're talking about self-validation, right? And hyping yourself up and using good words towards yourself. What would be the opposite of self-validation? What would that look like?
The first thing that comes to mind is self-doubt, which I was just having a conversation with somebody about, and that's just doubting yourself, that you're not actually capable, that you don't actually belong, that you, like the whole imposter syndrome thing. So just doubting where you are, doubting who you are, doubting why you are. I would say it's kind of the opposite of that. Have you dealt with self-doubt before?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think most recently, it's like anytime you go for something new, you're going to have that imposter syndrome because it's new, it's unknown, like we said. Like, you're not going to know how to master certain things because you've never been there before. So, of course, you're going to feel like, maybe I'm not good enough for this, or maybe this isn't going to work. So then we freak ourselves out back to safety instead of actually like pushing ourselves to our limits to try to figure out how capable we are. So that self-doubt is also very detrimental too, because on the other side of that doubt is so much fruit.
Yes.
Is so much fruit. I was actually writing this down. I have little stick-it notes on my mirror in my bathroom, and I write down little affirmations or scriptures that I translate to like make it feel like I said it out loud. But one thing I question for myself, and you guys can question this for ask yourself this as well, but what does it look like in your life to have an unwavering faith? Like, if you never had any doubt in your life and you actually just went for things without second guessing yourself, what would your life look like?
Yeah.
Like, how much further would you be? How much more would you grow if you didn't ever doubt yourself?
Yeah.
And that's what faith is. You know, so
that like speaks to me so much when I look at my life, like over the past 2 years and all of the calculated risks that I took to do things. And then I look at my life pretty much before that. I'm like, look how much you did and accomplished, learned, and how much you grew in just a 2-year period.
Yeah.
Just from taking those risks, so to speak. But without pressure, there is no diamonds. You cannot grow, like you were just talking about. You have to go through those tough situations so that you can grow. Otherwise, you're just going to be stagnant. You're going to stay where you are and who you are. So one of my favorite scriptures, and my family and the people close to me dislike it so much because I will put myself in precarious situations and I'll just say, if I perish, I perish.
You love that quote.
Yeah. And it's just like, I'm going to go for it regardless. I'm not really worried about the outcome of what's about to happen. I just want to step out on this so that I can learn, so that I can grow, so that I can become stronger as a person, and just go for it. So yeah, I think that's big.
Yeah. I think a lot of it too. I'm a recovering overthinker. Okay. So I'm still working through certain things where I'm not overanalyzing and trying to find these conclusions of worst case scenarios or best case scenarios, and they like just don't happen, right? My therapist was saying, when you overthink, you're feeding worry, and worry is not progressive. You cannot make progress in that doubt. So as long as you're worrying about things, oh, this might happen or whatever, like you're not making any progress. Yeah. You're not being productive. You're being anti-productive. Yeah. You're actually moving backwards. Wow. So next time we think about overthinking or worrying or doubting ourselves, just think of it as you're actually taking 2 steps backwards with one thought. with one thought. You're taking 2 whole steps backwards. You might as well just like stay in bed the rest of the day.
Yeah.
You know, because with that same thought of like, I don't know, I might not make it, whatever. You could say the same thing, but the opposite. I might make it. And now you're 2 steps ahead because you're thinking like, okay, if I make it, then what do I need to do today? How do I need to rethink my thoughts, or like, how do I need to step into this room if I might make it today? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that your mind gets stuck in those neural loops when you do that. When you constantly doubt yourself and talk to yourself that way, your mind begins to literally form loops because it's used to you saying it.
Yeah.
So the minute like you wake up, your mind just goes into the loop because it knows what to do.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to break yourself out of it and like, no, I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna say something different to myself today.
I believe in that so much.
Yeah.
As like a behavior change coach too, it's just like, okay, the analogy of working out works with your brain because your brain is technically like a muscle. It's an organ, but it's like a muscle. But you can't be like, oh, I'm gonna make a new habit and just think it and it happens.
Yeah.
But you have to make the action. I was reading Proverbs 12:11 and I translated it, but basically it said, daydreamers don't take action. That's not exactly what it said, but that's how I translated it. Basically, if you're lazy, you're not going to make any action. If you just talk a nice talk, nothing's going to happen. Yeah. You have to take action. Yeah. You know, so that starts with our thoughts because our thoughts lead our behaviors and our behaviors become our lifestyle.
Absolutely. That just made me think. I was listening to a preacher the other day and he was talking about the fact that in the Bible, almost every encounter that somebody had with God, they were doing something at the time. They were working. Even like blind Bartimaeus, he was begging when he had his encounter with Jesus. So just like you said, you have to be doing something. It has to be more than words. It can't just be you saying, I'm going to do it. It can't just be you talking to yourself. Cut.
This is part of live podcasts. Sometimes we have little
technical
hiccups.
Difficulties. Battery change.
But how are you guys doing? Do you guys have any questions so far? We're good? Just kidding. We're back. We're going to go. It's fine.
What was I talking about? We good?
Yeah, you talk about in the act of doing something. That's when God talks.
Yeah, so you have to be actively doing something, whatever that is. And that doesn't mean you have to be doing something radical or crazy or some crazy task that God gave you. It could simply mean you're just getting up, going to work every day, doing what you're supposed to do, and he will meet you where you are in the midst of you working. But he doesn't want somebody lazy. Yeah. Why would he give a business to somebody who does nothing all day? Yeah. Why would he, bless you with a relationship that you want if you don't even take the time to care for yourself on a daily basis? Yeah. So you have to be actively doing something so that he can meet you where you are and bless you in the midst of it. Mm.
That's so real. That's so real. That's so real. Yeah, that reminds me of like, so before you even ask for something, you have to believe it so hard. Mm-hmm. And don't let that belief turn into don't let it dwindle if it doesn't happen right away. Yeah. Because right when you think it's not going to happen, that's when he be popping off.
Yes. All the time.
He'd be popping off right when you're like, okay, I guess I'll turn around. And he's like, boop. Yeah. You're like, oh, dang. Yeah. Glad I made it this far. But sometimes it happens in the act of us doing things, like you just said. Mm-hmm. And it's not even crazy things. It's just the matter of just showing up. Yeah. Just showing up. I'm always related back to the gym, but just show up to the gym. Yeah. Just put your little clothes on, your little fit.
Just get there.
Your little gym shirt, put it on. Yeah. Just put your shoes on, get in the car, and then go show up. Mm. And it becomes a habit. It's not necessarily you going and doing 100% every day. Yeah. Sometimes he could work with that 1%. Where you're like, dang, I didn't even feel like getting up to do this right now, but I'm just gonna go. Yeah. Just because you don't want to break your streak, you don't want to break your loop, you don't want to break your habit. And sometimes we need to do that with ourselves. Yeah. Where if we find these thoughts, it's like, okay, I'm gonna hype myself up no matter what. I'm gonna validate myself. Yeah. And if I have this one thought that comes down, I'm like, no, I haven't had a bad thought in 3 hours. Mm-hmm. I'm going to just keep on moving forward with this.
Yeah. Yeah. You were just talking about habits. I finished the book Atomic Habits.
Yes.
It was really good.
You love it?
Yeah. And in that book, it was just talking about like what you were just saying, just taking it day by day and getting 1% better at something every day. And that might be like you can actually apply that to self-validation. So if you're a person who doubts yourself a lot or finds it hard to believe in yourself sometime, just on a daily basis, just say, hey, I'm just going to say one little small thing to myself today. And then tomorrow I'm going to say 1% more than I said yesterday, and just build it up until you become more confident as a person in who you are and what you're doing, and the things, the places where God's taking you in your life. Just take it 1% at a time.
Yeah.
That was like the best practical thing out of that book that I
No,
read.
really. Because the thing about it is, like, even when you say it at first, like affirmations in general, you say it out loud, it's like, I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
And it sounds cheesy. So you're like, brush it off, right?
Yeah.
But like the more you say it, you actually start to believe it and you start to embody it. So then I'm walking around like, I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a life hack that I like to do. Okay, so this one is really cringe. It's for like maybe intermediate to advanced people. But if you struggle with affirmations or like validating yourself, what I like to do is take a voice memo on my phone, like how you just record it. You say all these affirmations that come to your brain, because affirmations have to be customized. You can't just get them off of a Pinterest board. Like you have to customize them. So say the first few things that come to your brain and say them like 2 or 3 times. So say if I'm like, I am qualified for this new job. The first time it sounds cringe, but then you say it again and you're like, I am qualified for this new job. And then by the third time you say it, you actually start to wire it in your brain that you believe it. Like, I am qualified for this new job. And then go on to the next one that comes to your brain. I do not doubt myself for any skill that I have. Like you just keep going into that and you record yourself. So then with that recording, this is where the advanced part comes in, because you have to listen back to it. And, listening back to your voicemail is always cringe. But, like, you listen back to it and you're like, wow, like, I said that to myself and I started to believe it. And then you start to listen to it, like, first thing in the morning or in the car, whatever you have your, like, alone time.
Yeah.
And, like, over a week span, just start to feel a difference of your mindset. It makes a huge difference.
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna let you know what happened.
Okay.
And if it doesn't work, it's on you.
If some radical stuff starts happening, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. How are we looking? Okay. We got a lot of questions.
You want to jump into them?
So we might want to get started.
Let's do it.
Yeah. We got the question box ready? All right, cool.
We have a question box right here. This segment of our show is called Questions for the Audience, where we answer some questions that our audience might have. If you didn't get a question in here, you can just say it out loud. We'll pass you a mic. Don't worry.
Yep.
You won't your face won't be on. It's just your beautiful voice.
Yeah. I don't even think we have the mic plugged in, so we'll just let them yell it at us.
You can just yell.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
It's fine.
Yeah.
We're Gucci.
All right, you want to go first?
I'll take the first one. All right. This one is from Anonymous. It said, why Christianity over the thousands of other religions out there? Let's go. Start it off strong.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So I'll just say for me, obviously in the beginning, both of my parents are Christian. So I grew up in a Christian household. It's what I learned, which is the case for a lot of people. But at some point, you have to have an encounter for yourself. My mother used to say, you have to know that you know. So much like the children of Israel, I grew up not knowing the God my parents were talking about on a daily basis. I went to church. I said my prayers at night, but I did not know him. But what I will say is when I did have an encounter with him, it was unmistakable. I knew that it was him 100%. And it was at that point where I became solidified or confident in the religion that I was following, which is Christianity, and believing that, Jesus died, that God sent him, he died on the cross for our sins. So I would say why Christianity personally for me is just because I've had personal experiences and encounters with God that validate Christianity for me.
Yeah. That's a great answer. I love that. I think for me, the simplest answer I have for that is that it chose me. Like similar to you having like an experience, I also had an encounter where, I was at a point where I was like, well, I grew up at like in Christian household, but we weren't going to church like every so often. Yeah. So it was really once I got to high school and college, and then after as an adult, when I started to encounter God in so many different ways that I was like, this is so undeniable. I can't get away from it.
Yeah.
You know? But I was at a point where I was like, okay, the universe, or like even like looking at Hindu practices or anything like that, like, but nothing stuck with me more than Christianity.
Yeah.
And I even see it as a relationship rather than a religion, because for me, religion is kind of like man-made practices that like you should do, or I'm gonna shun you, or like you can't be here because you did that. That's people shutting you down because what they think they're doing right.
Yeah.
But everybody sins in a different way. So I can't go off of somebody judging me. I have to validate myself through the word, and God validated me. You know, like and the same thing is like, no matter how far I fall off, whether it's like, oh, I got out of the routine of reading my Bible every day, or like, oh, I started listening to this music again and I feel crazy. Like, no matter what, the Holy Spirit always finds me again.
Yeah.
I can't even choose to get
He's
away
always
from it.
there. He never actually leaves.
Yeah.
It's just you that strays away.
Yeah, and it fuels me so much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Let's see what else we got. This is from Trey Rico. Shout out Trey Rico.
Come on, Trey, we go.
What are some tools God gives us to overcome challenging thoughts that make self-validation hard? What are some tools God gives us to overcome challenging thoughts that make self-validation hard?
Our tongue, the way that we speak, is a powerful tool. And just as powerful as it is, it could either speak life or death. It could be positive or it could be negative. It could bring us fruit or into like destruction.
Yeah.
And so that's why we did an episode on like the power of. Did we do an episode on power of speech or something? We talked about it a little bit, the power of the tongue. But I think that's one of the most influential tools that we have, that He's given us.
Yes.
Because we have freedom of speech. We have free will. He gives us options to do what we want. But it's a matter on how we manage what we have that affects our life. So we, in a way, we kind of do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
Whether that's good or bad.
The practical tool that comes to my mind right away is the Word of God, the Bible.
Yeah.
If you just read through it, there's so many things in there that show how God validates you. He sent His Son to die on your behalf. He gave your life purpose. The Bible says that He knew you before the foundations of the world. He wouldn't do all those things for somebody who didn't matter. So if you read through the Bible, read the stories of the Bible, there's so many things in there that just show you how God validates you as a person, like you were just talking about. So I think reading the Bible is a good tool to use.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay, next. This is a long one. This one's from Peter. Why do y'all think Christians have a difficult time accepting and seeing themselves as God does? You got it? I got it. I got it. Society plays a huge role, and it always has and it always will. Like in the Bible, it talks about crazy people and people coming at you and all this stuff. Like that's never gonna end. I think we have a difficult time accepting it and seeing ourselves that way because we look up to Jesus, and Jesus was perfect. He was human. He was man, but He never sinned. So I think sometimes we can hold ourselves up to that expectation and compare ourselves to Jesus. As much as we're trying to strive to be like Jesus, we're still human and we're gonna fall short sometimes. But the fact that He died for us so that we are covered, you know, like we should have more grace on ourselves the way that God does.
Yes.
Because God has so much grace for us. Why are we so hard on ourselves?
Yeah. That was good. Why is it so hard for us to see us as God does? I would say in the Bible, it speaks that God can determine the end from the beginning. In other words, He knows all. So He knows this version of you. He knows the later version of you. He knows the least version of you. He knows the greatest version of you. So He sees you as a whole. You only see yourself in a linear path where you are. You can't fully see where you're going as a person. So you don't know the best version of you quite yet. And I would say that's why it's so difficult for us to see ourselves as he sees us, because he sees the full us. He sees what we will become if we follow the plan and the purpose that he's placed on our lives. We can't see that. We can only see the struggle and the turmoil that we're going through at that current time, which may skew our vision a little bit. So
Yeah.
I would say that's why it's so difficult.
One way I want to like give a practical for people too is when you feel yourself being hard on yourself, I want you to think about how, like, you know how you would speak to a 5-year-old and you kind of be like, okay, it's all right. Like, let's, you console them. Like, I want you to do that to yourself. So like, how would you coach your 5-year-old version of you who just messed up? Like you would have so much grace and love on them that you would want to make sure they're using the right tools and have everything that they need to get through what they're getting through, instead of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're so stupid for that. Like, don't beat yourself up. Like, talk to yourself as you would your 5-year-old self.
Yeah. I just started coaching youth flag football, and they're like 7 years old.
Aww.
And I had to learn that lesson. Like, sometimes I'm like,
Can't just yell
why
at
are you
them.
running around in circles when we're supposed to be playing a game right now? But you have to give them that grace.
Yeah.
And you have to do that with yourself sometimes.
Absolutely.
Like you were
It's
just
so
talking
real.
about.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's see. This is from Fernando. Where's Fernando at?
Hey.
Shout out, Fernando. He has 2 questions. Overachiever. I like you, brother. What does self-validation mean to you is the first question. The second question is, when focusing on yourself, does it mean to put everyone to the side?
I mean, I guess the same thing we kind of said. Being able to hype yourself up no matter what circumstance you're in.
Yep.
And being humble in the same breath, where nobody can be better than you. Nobody can be below you. Everybody is at a different journey in their life, and you just happen to be at that point that you're at right there.
Yeah.
So humble yourself, because you could be down and they could be up next week, tomorrow.
In 2 minutes.
So never put other people above or below. Like, we're all just walking around as equals whole time. And that's how God sees us too.
Yeah.
He's not like, wow, that's my superstar right there. Let me just give her everything. Let me give him everything. It's like, no, like, there's different times allotted for every single person. And as long as you're in your own greatness without diminishing other people, you're just good.
Absolutely. What does self-validation mean to you? I kind of spoke about it earlier, but it just means not only am I validating myself, but what I'm saying about myself is actually true. I don't want to just be telling myself stuff for no reason and it's not actually real. So just making sure that I'm living up to the standards that I'm saying when I validate myself. Basically what you talked about, validating yourself does not mean at all that you have to put everybody else to the side or put them down or forget about them. I don't think one is necessary for the other. You can do both. You can support other people, but also love yourself.
Say that again.
You can support other people, but also love yourself. I do think there are times where you will have to prioritize yourself over other people. So other people may need something that's not urgent. And you may need to spend time with yourself. You may need to do something for you, self-care day or whatever it is. And you may have to tell somebody no. That doesn't mean that you don't care for them. Maybe you just need to explain that to them sometime. Just say, hey, I have to do something for me today. I can help you out a couple of days from now, whatever. And honestly, if they can't accept that, then you might want to reconsider if you should be hanging out with them
Get
anyway.
some new friends.
Yeah. So
boundaries are important, y'all. Boundaries are really important. We have a couple. Literally a couple more. Okay. This is anonymous. Would you say validation is like affirmations? I would. Because you're affirming yourself. You're validating yourself. You're saying, I am good.
Yeah.
I am enough. Validation. Yeah. Taking it back to the parking ticket. You are good.
Yeah. Stamp your own ticket.
You paid your bill. You're good.
Yeah.
Or you didn't. You got free validation.
Yeah. Last one out of the box. This is from Brandy Smith. Brandy, where you at?
Come on, Brandy.
Brandy. She still in the room?
Yeah, she's back there.
Okay. Shout out, Brandy. What are your thoughts on the cancel culture in order to feel validated versus having hard conversations and implementing healthy boundaries?
Ooh, I love this conversation on cancel culture because it's not real. Wait, let me read it again. Can you repeat the question?
Yep.
That's a running joke that we all have. We always repeat questions. In order to feel validated. What are your thoughts on the cancel culture in order to feel validated? I feel like this whole idea about cancel culture is kind of going against, like, that's actually anti-Christian in my eyes, because that's you saying like, oh, you're canceled, I can't support you anymore, you're nothing. And Jesus doesn't do that.
Not at all.
There's no grace there. There's no forgiveness there, because we're all human, and like I said, we're all in different parts of our path.
Yeah.
So we can't judge anybody. Cancel culture is judgment, and we don't have the right to do that. We're not qualified to judge people. Only God can judge. But I do believe in having hard conversations, because that's how you get to understanding. Because without that, it's just ignorance. You don't know the other side. You don't know what they're going through. And sometimes we even be like, if we catch ourselves being like, oh, if I was in that situation, I would have reacted different. You don't know. Yeah. There's no way you could be in the same situation as somebody else. Yeah. You don't know how they would react. You don't know how they would respond. So having that grace to be like, I'm actually just going to pray for you. Yeah. Let me just pray for this person, because who knows what's going on behind doors that I don't see, that I don't understand. So either I'm praying for you, or we're having a conversation, and implementing healthy boundaries. I think that's huge.
Yeah. Cancel culture. I would have to say I don't agree with it. I do think when individuals mess up or they do things that they deserve whatever consequences come their way from their actions, I don't think it's okay to then say that they are canceled for life. Yeah. You know what I mean? Everybody can redeem themselves in some way. It doesn't mean that you have to support them again. Yeah. If they're doing something, you can choose not to do that. Yeah. But just like you said, Jesus wasn't like that. So I don't want to be like that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any other questions?
Any questions in the room? Don't be shy.
Okay. Going once, going twice.
We good?
You got a question? No.
No.
How does one seek God in a world where God is pushed to the side? In our current world, in today's society.
There's a lot of distractions in our world today.
A lot.
And I think, and this is something that I'm like practically having to do on a daily basis now, and that's just creating we always talk about creating safe places. You know, for us, do that for God. Yeah. Give God a space that's his in your life so that he can occupy that space. God doesn't want to sit next to social media. God doesn't want to sit next to that person that you can't get rid of in your life. He doesn't want to occupy the same space as that stuff. He wants his own space. He's a big God. He needs some elbow room when he sits at the table. So create that space for him so that he can come in. So that's how you seek him, is pushing some of those things that are distractions aside and saying, hey, God, here's your chair. Why don't you come sit down with me and have a talk? Yeah.
I believe the same thing. It's prioritizing that space. Just like you would prioritize a meeting for work where you're like, oh, I have a meeting at 1. I can't do anything. I have a meeting at 1 with God and I can't do anything right now. Yes. And it doesn't even have to be like you have to sit in a room for an hour and just read your Bible and pray. Like, that's what I do. That works for me. But it could also translate to, okay, I'm on the way to work. I have a 15-minute commute. Instead of me turning on this radio, let me just drive in silence and speak to God. Yeah. Because sometimes even speaking to God, like he's in the passenger seat, like, yo, God, I am not ready to go into work right now. I do not even want to go see this person, but like, help me because I need to, you're trying to teach me something. What are you trying to teach me right now? And like, just have a casual conversation. Doesn't have to be like, dear our heavenly Father, like, you know, King James version. Like, speak how you speak to your friend. Yeah. Because God knows who you are. He knows how you are. And he just wants to hear from you. He wants to hear from your heart. Yes. And even sometimes when you don't have the words to say, he still knows you. So you don't even have to say anything sometimes, but just going through your thoughts and be like, okay, processing in silence. Yeah. You know, so creating that priority time, those priority, like, what's another word I was going to say? Undivided attention. Yeah. Undivided attention. Because I can't be like, oh, I'm watching church, but I'm also streaming or on TikTok right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
He needs undivided attention.
He does. He craves that.
Yeah. All right.
Any other questions in the room?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she said, how did we meet and start the show? And in the process of starting the show, what like affirmations were God speaking to us? Yeah.
So
we love this story.
It's kind of divine. Like if you have time to speak with us individually about how we joined the small group, it's kind of divine in that way. But we all came into a small Bible group together through Elevation Church. And we met for like almost a month and a half. And then one night, one of the prompt questions came up. Do you remember the question?
Yeah, she was like, what is God speaking to you that you're resisting right now? Like, what is he asking you to do that you're resisting?
Yeah.
And I was like, he wants me to verbally talk. Like, maybe it's like a YouTube, like, verbal journal or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a podcast.
Yep.
And then Cal.
And then I said, we should start a podcast called Baby Christians.
Yes.
And I was joking when I said it. And then she looked back at me.
I was like, let's run it.
And then I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we are doing this.
Doing it.
Yeah, so after that, we were leaving and we were like, okay, let's set a meeting up for Monday to talk about the idea. We went to Starbucks in Old Town.
Yep.
We sat at this little bitty table that was only big enough for our laptops.
Mm-hmm.
We planned it out. And then at the end of the meeting, I'm like, okay, it was like the beginning of October. And I'm like, all right, let's plan to maybe get together at the end of the month, a month from now. And Q was like,
I was like, I know myself. If I put it 3 weeks out, I'm going to probably dip on you and be like, oh, sorry, this came up. So I was like, we should do this next week.
Yep.
And we did.
So literally that was a Monday. That Sunday we came and we just turned the cameras on and started filming. That Wednesday in between at E-Group, we spoke to Julian and Bree about the idea. And we found out that Julian was into production.
Yeah.
And they were both creatives like us. So we were like, hey, you guys come as well. So we did that first week. And then the second week, we didn't even use footage from that first week. We just showed up and I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But the second week, I told Iman and Tay, who were over there, that's like I've been knowing him for so long. That's like my brother and my sister. I told them about the idea and they showed up and we've all been together ever since.
Yeah.
And when we first had this idea, it was like 2 baby microphones on the table and us just chatting about Bible stuff. And it has turned into this in less than a year's time. So,
and one thing I want to say is that we were actually qualified. He qualified us in the making because everything that you see is stuff that we collectively own already.
Yeah.
We already owned everything. I mean, you probably bought these mics just for this, but like pretty much we all collectively owned everything here. So we're like, we have everything that we need. Let's just really put it together.
Yeah.
And we just keep showing up. And honestly, it's blessed me.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking for myself, but like having this group of Christians who are dope and creative and we can just be a family together, like it has helped me a lot.
Yeah.
But like the affirmations that come, I mean, we both kind of had backlash mentally of like, okay, what did we just say? Like that's out in the public now. It's on the internet. Like,
yes.
Did I say something wrong? You know, like that imposter syndrome comes in a little bit. But I think the more that we've practiced this muscle, like we don't even plan anything. Like if anything, we barely plan a topic.
Yep.
We planned this one because it was for the event, but like we barely, like the night before, we're like, okay, what are we talking about? Let's try this. Yep. And then we just kind of like vibe out.
Yep.
So the spirit just be coming through.
Yeah.
Did you have any affirmations?
What I will say is that first night after the first episode was tough.
Yeah.
Mentally, I went through it. I was about to go on there and just take everything down and be like, y'all half at it. I'm good. I got attacked mentally and it was just like, you know, you said something, somebody's going to say it was wrong. It was incorrect. You're not qualified. You sound crazy on the microphone, all this stuff. And then, so the affirmations kind of came in, you know, I'll be a mama's boy for a second. Mama called me and was like, I'm so proud of you, son. And, you know, I'm like, okay, if mama say it's okay, I guess it's okay. So yeah, there was definitely some affirmations along the way. A big part of it for me was when my friends who are not necessarily Christians start reaching out saying that they were blessed by the stuff I was doing. that was like huge for me.
That's God's work.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's been a long journey, and we're still gonna keep going.
Yeah.
Let's do our final segment, should we?
SOS?
SOS.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know what SOS is, Key will let you know.
Oh, I thought you were gonna intro it.
No, I was just introing you introing it.
Okay. SOS is subject on the spot, where you guys will give us a random subject, and we'll do a 1-minute sermon on it off the top of our heads. So it's completely random. We just kind of have to like make a word out of it.
So usually we pick each other's topics, but we're going to let you all pick our topics for tonight. So
does anybody have a random topic they want to blurt out?
Just shout them out. Whatever comes to your mind. It can be absolutely anything.
Yeah, don't overthink. What?
Purpose.
Purpose? I thought you said burgers.
Yeah. Make it like an object, like a thing. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like we did like chewing gum or like banana peel.
Like something crazy. What you got?
Burritos.
Burritos or Doritos? Burritos.
Like Chipotle?
Okay.
Okay. Who got the timer? Who's first? You want to go first. That's yours.
You want me to take burritos?
I could take burritos.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Wait. Okay. Yeah. Gosh, okay. Burritos. So sometimes in life, you're going to have a lot of things that you want to get done. There's going to be a lot of qualities that you want to pick up, a lot of goals that you want to achieve. But you realize that life is just the tortilla and all your skills are the ingredients of your burrito. Sometimes you don't feel like what you have is going to be good enough because you're looking at them individually like, oh, just tomatoes, just cheese. And like, if you just look at it like that, it's going to be kind of whack. But the more that you put everything together, they kind of all just combine in a beautiful mix, and then you wrap it up in life, and also God wraps it up. You let God wrap your tortilla, your burrito up. It's going to be a delicious burrito that people just going to be coming to the door trying to get your burritos. You ain't never been to a Chipotle line and there was no line because the ingredients are so good. That's your life. That's your skills. That's your qualities. That's your humanity. That's your love. Everything. You are a burrito. Whew. That's hard.
All right, that's a wrap. I'm not going out.
A wrap.
All right, what y'all got for me? Be nice to me. Be nice to me.
Whew.
You good? Okay. All right, what y'all got for me?
Cinder block. See, I'm glad I went first. That's hard. That's hard.
Thank you, Fletch. I appreciate you, my brother.
Cinder block. Cinder block.
God is my center block. He is that thing that in the beginning, it looks like an inanimate object. It looks like it has no value. But when you take it and you put it at the foundation of what you are doing, it holds it up. It is that thing which you can always rely on. You can always put your weight on it. It will never break. It will never give. It will never bend. It is immutable. It is unchanging. It will stay the same as long as you keep it as your foundation. You can build your house on it. You can build your life on it. You can build your business on it. You can build a relationship on it. Put whatever you want on that center block. It will not bend. It will not break. It will not give. It will only do what it was designed to do, and that is to hold you up. So go get you a center block and put everything on it because it will hold it up. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Man. There it is. Woo. All right.
That was a long last 10 seconds.
Oh my
right
God. I
there.
feel like you still have more. Keep going. Wow, you guys. That's our episode, The Power of Self-Validation. I hope you guys were blessed by this episode.
Absolutely.
I surely was. And thank you guys all again for showing out and showing up today on this fine Saturday night.
Yep. Before we go, we do have one more gift to give out. Where's that gift card at? Tay, they gonna bring it over here for me?
You want to close out the episode?
We can give it out on the episode.
We'll give it out on the episode.
Yeah. We want people to be recognized.
Yeah.
We got some raffles? Okay.
This is
all right, get your raffles out. Get your raffles out. We're going to give a gift card away.
It's the most special because you guys stayed to the end.
Yes. Let's see who has the golden ticket.
what was this one that we had? Wasn't there one there? No.
All right, we ready? Everybody got their tickets ready. The winning number is 13666929. Where is it at? Where is it at?
Who's got it?
Where is it at? 13666929.
We might need another raffle. You got it?
Nobody got it? Nobody got it? All right.
Dang. We got another one?
Second choice.
Dang. Probably was yours. It was you. We have no proof. Have no proof.
All right, I was just joking. I got the winning ticket right here. All right, here we go. 13666920. There she is.
Winner, 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 chicken dinner. This is yours. A lovely prize inside. You can come like
Yes, it is.
this way, I guess. Oh, you got it. Thanks.
Thank you. We appreciate your support. Thank you to everybody who came out tonight. We appreciate you all.
You guys did that.
Yeah.
For our YouTube people and our Spotify people and Apple people, like, subscribe, definitely leave some comments below so we can check those out.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you guys in season 3.
Season 3 on the way.
Wow, that's a wrap, y'all. Wow. Wait, can I just get a picture of everybody? Everybody say, well, there's bright light. Everybody say cheese. 1, 2, 3. Wow, you guys are beautiful. So beautiful.
Got a headphone here?
Oh my God.
I do not